How did you find out someone had a crush on you? A girl from one of my courses asked me if I wanted to bake cookies with her. I, a professional dumbass, was like, sure, I like cookies. A friend informed me that I had just agreed to a date. It was okay. The cookies were pretty good. They waited until they no longer had a crush on me and then told me that they used to have a crush on me. Sometimes people just say that to cover for the fact that they still have a crush on you. I was good friends with my crush. One night while texting he says, "We aren't just friends, right?" And that was the first time I realized even he has a thing for me and I wasn't just imagining the sparks between us. He was my first boyfriend. I don't think I'd have a relationship as healthy as that one. I once had a girl introduce me to her friend like this. "This is Tim. I have a huge crush on him, but he hasn't figured it out yet." I guess she'd gotten tired of waiting for me to figure it out. LOL. When I was about 10, this girl in my class had a crush on me. She made it obvious but I wasn't interested at the time. After school we never saw each other for a few years. Then at 18 she apparently still had a crush on me. We've been married 18 years now. She worked at the McDonald's near my house. She kept giving me free bacon every time L ordered a McDouble. I don't eat pork. After like the third time, I go in the store to complain. The cashier calls up the girl in the back and she basically explains the bacon was her way of flirting with me. She was cute, so we did end up dating for a bit. Had a girl keep banging my leg under the table at a Yonge St. Swiss chalet in the fall of '91. I just thought our group was too tight together and she needed space. Turns out I'm just a clueless idiot. We've been together since April of '92, so luckily she was persistent. I was due in a couple weeks to move halfway across the country for my job, so I was hanging out with a local friend to say goodbye. That night I admitted I would have asked her out if I wasn't moving so far away. There was a moment of silence and she responded with, "Yeah, I probably would have said yes, you're quite the catch." Later that night we're lying on her bed watching anime. She gets up to use the bathroom, so I stretch my arms out. She comes back, sees me stretched out, says, "Oh, an arm," and cuddles right up to me. We're dating now. I opened my high school yearbook from my sophomore year and found a message from a friend that we should hang out together and included her phone number. I only found it 18 years later and I feel horrible that I didn't see it because it probably made me look like an ass and hurt her feelings. The day after she went back to France, after being here for 8 months, my coworker was like, "Well, now that she is gone, I can tell you she had a massive crush on you." Still devastated to this day I never picked up on it. Asked her out, she accepted and then told me she had a crush on me for some time. Sometimes you just got to go for it. You lose some, you win some. When I added her as friend on Facebook, her first message was finally, "Damn, I would like someone with that enthusiasm." I talked to her at an ice cream shop. She was working behind the counter. First time meeting her and thought she was way out of my league. Had to be the prettiest girl I've ever seen. Red hair and blue eyes. No one else was there and she was recommending different things. Got my ice cream and left. I noticed her smiling a lot at me, which I was never used to. I've never thought myself to be attractive and I didn't date growing up. Came back a few days later and just decided to ask her out randomly to my friend's party. She actually gave me her number and we met up before the party at the park, ended up getting dinner and going to the movies after. It was a very long first date but we didn't seem to want it to end. 9 years later we are married and our baby just turned 1 year old. You never know till you ask. When I was in 7th grade, a boy wrote me the sweetest poem. I have it saved somewhere still. I still remember the line, "I'll take you to the movies, or even to the mall, even though I'm short, and even though you're tall. Mike, wherever you are, I hope you're happy and have the best woman ever." Her friends told M same. But then she was kidding. Friend apologized about it. She didn't. My then good friend told me he confessed to his crush, and she told him she had a crush on me and not him. It ruined our friendship. She was working at the front desk at the gym. My trainer was a really loud guy with a big mouth, great guy, just very much an extrovert. She discreetly dropped a few hints to him about me without actually saying she had a crush. She knew he couldn't keep it to himself and would tell me. He did. We dated. Got married. This happened yesterday. I was on my way to a casting and a person on my train wrote a note with their number etc. saying they liked me and passed it to me. First time something like that's happened to me, it was flattering. Someone has a crush on me? Yes, there are 8 hot singles in your area. A cute AF girl confessed that I was her bisexual awakening in the first year of high school on graduation day. I had zero clue that she was into me. Might explain why she always snuggled up to me, gave me pens because I always forgot one, bought me coffee etc. Was leaving school one day and my small group of friends were hugging and saying bye when this girl that I was into but didn't know if she was into me raised her arms up and says, "What about me?" It was the best hug I've ever had. That was in 2005, we've been together ever since. When they broke things off with their fiancé because they had feelings for me, I was horrified. She made a playlist called Songs I Want Him to Rail Me To and shared it with only me. She came into my cabin at camp, wasn't allowed to have gals in the cabin, and jumped into bed with me. You'll randomly realize 20 years standing in the shower. Suddenly you'll be like, oh, that's what she meant. It was 6th grade. She asked me out in front of all her friends on April Fool's Day. I thought it was a cruel joke, so I said no and then purposely avoided her for the next 3 years until right before graduation in 8th grade. A mutual friend of ours told me she actually did have a crush on me and apparently was still upset about that day. She offered to carry my jacket to the next class when I had to stop at the bathroom. Went to the next class and it was placed on the chair next to her and her best friend said, "Your boyfriend is here." I was young and shy, did nothing, regretted it. She was amazing. I was honestly just happy being her friend. Usually they tell me like 20 years later, which helped teenage me immensely. She literally stopped me as I was passing by with my friends and asked me if I remember us looking at each other at McDonald's. Made a bunch of innuendo jokes, but was always looking elsewhere when this one person reacted. After maybe 10 jokes people were like, "You're really getting that person's hopes up, you gonna deliver." She went on a month-long vacation with some mutual friends, and I learned from said friends when they got back that she spent the entire time missing me. I was on a skating rink and there were a couple of girls hanging out by the benches and one of them screams to me as I roll by that the other one likes me. I didn't react to it to save the girl any more embarrassment as she was practically hiding. I don't know, bro, you're supposed to go up to make her feel embarrassed. She left her phone number on my car windshield randomly. My wife didn't find it very amusing. Woke up to her cuddling with me after a house party. Edit, we're friends of 10 years or more, drunk at a house party. She found me asleep and didn't want to risk driving, so she did the only thing she could think of. We were together for 3 years after that party, still friends too. My crush told out mutual friend to tell me to ask her out. I proceeded to get rejected over text when I asked her to a date. She was a colleague who had heard I was leaving town. I wasn't, only going to be away for 2 weeks, and she took her chance by kissing me after we bumped into each other at a nightclub. It was a rare night off work for me. It's now 16 years and 3 kids later, so it worked out well for the both for us. We were really drunk and just talking crap when he said, "God, I had such a crush on you growing up." And I replied with, "What the S? I had a crush on you." Nothing else came of it, but I realized that I really don't know when someone is interested. Just assume I'm seen as a friend. We were mutual friends, so sat together in a few classes and occasionally texted about homework. I was looking for our friend at a Halloween party one weekend and he offered to help me. The party's packed and he says want to platonically hold hands so we don't lose each other. I knew it then. Andy was already interested but he'd been so shy whenever I hinted at liking him, so I waited him out. 3 drinks later we'd given up on finding our friend and are sitting on the lawn when he turns to me and says, "I have a very not little crush on you." So I just wanted to get that out of the way. We had a blast talking a little longer and he walked me home. The next weekend I saw him again at a party lacking breathing room and yelled in his ear, "I'm going outside. Do you want to come with me? A non-platonic ally, hold hands so we don't lose each other." He cracked a mile-wide smile, planted one on me, and we've been together since. I was pretty sure my friend's little sister had a crush on me when she started following me around like a lost puppy. Then she randomly started calling me by my first and middle name. Then she found out my birthday from someone and started telling me our age difference. It was kind of cute until she decided she should tell her friends that we were dating. We were not dating. I had a nice conversation with her letting her know that her crush was flattering, but she was way too young for me and that she needed to stop telling people that we were dating since it was not true and could get me in a lot of trouble. In true typical teenager logic, she said that her parents wouldn't have a problem with it and I could date her if I wanted to. She came to school with her whole arm scarred with my name and a love heart, hadn't cleaned the blood so was fairly fresh. She told me she did it with a knife and wanted me to do the same. She was very quickly expelled after that and I learned a valuable lesson that girls can be crazy. It was through a text once she got a boyfriend. I had my suspicions but didn't act on them because I knew I couldn't reciprocate the same feelings towards her. Back in 1st grade, I've been finding letters in my locker. There is a slit where anyone can put anything as long as it fits, for a month. Then one afternoon, I was really bored because it's a math class. I went to the washroom and there I found her, red-handed. She eventually found out that I knew that it was her and we've been together for 2 years now. I briefly danced with a girl at a HS dance, before she told me one song was enough and went to the restroom. A few weeks later a mutual friend asked what I thought about her. I said that she was nice and cute, but she was obviously not into based on the dance. He told me to give it another shot. I asked her out later that day and we ended up dating for about a year. In Minecraft. With a book and quill. The same way any man learns, her saying hey, dummy, I like you, when are you going to ask me out on a date? When she's resting her head on your shoulder and you say if you're tired I can let you sleep in my bed and I'll sleep on the couch. And she says God, you're so effing dense. LOL, I remember in middle school getting a note in my locker that only said would you like to go out? Saw it and was very confused. Like weeks later this random guy from one of my classes came up to me and asked if I had an answer to his note. There was no name on the note, and looking back he must have been more nervous, but I barely knew him and I just said, no, sorry and kinda bowed my head a little and walked away as quick as possible. It was weird. I asked her out and she said she was a lesbian and I was crushed but I respected it. Found out later from a mutual friend that she was lying, actually liked me too and she quote said it wasn't in the plan for me to ask her yet. The mutual friend essentially said, dodge that bullet, while you still have a chance. Her friend told me, I'm effing oblivious, so it was lucky for me haha. We were in the midst of a weekend of hanging out super oblivious of each other's interest within each other, and at the movies, just before the flick started, she gussied up the nerve to kiss me. 4 years later we're happily married, so big props to her. Innocently in high school I found it written someone liked me on the underside of a mousepad and a friend recognized the handwriting. Not so innocently now in my 20s I had just gotten out of a relationship and a longtime friend sent me a video of her spanking her ass. She waited for me after a test outside of the lecture hall. Was not expecting for her to wait for me but the smile when I walked out told me everything I needed to know. At a party with high school friends, he, a gay friend, confessed that he liked me, a straight guy, on a truth or dare game. He had a real blush and was super nervous to say it out loud. Most friends there already knew. I didn't, so it was a total surprise. It was first day of school and I had 2 classes with her, back to back. Both classes she sat on the other side of the room. During the second class, the teacher mispronounced my name. She corrected it very obviously. You could tell that she also realized how on the nose it was. I felt like a champ. She called me and asked why I had never asked her out on a date. She knew I was interested because I had told some friends that I was and they had told her. The reason I hadn't is because her brother and I were friends before I met her. When she called I told her I'd be thrilled to take her out but I wanted to make sure it was cool with her brother first. He was cool with it and we've been together 18 years now. Dating a friend's sister could have turned out bad though tbh. I was giving him a ride home from a work function and he jokingly brought up that our boss had mentioned the policy on co-workers dating because we came to the event together, but he thought he didn't have a chance in hell with me, his words, so that policy didn't matter. Well, I also had a crush on him, so it mattered very much in Feo. We're married now. I had a crush on a girl that worked for me. We would chat all the time at work, but since she was an employee I made sure to keep my distance. We went to an after-work house party with co-workers and she kissed me. My manager found out the next day and transferred her to a different department and we started dating. We have been married for 12 years. I saw the prophecies in the flames. Her best friend came up to me and kept asking me who I had a crush on. It was pretty easy to work it out from there, and to tell the truth I liked her a lot as well. Even after I found she liked me back, it didn't make it any easier to ask her out, and I think the only reason Elle ended up doing it was because my friends helped me get through my nerves. That relationship lasted a year and a half and I don't regret a second of it. I had to be told due to my inability to pick up on any sign/signal whatever. I had absolutely no idea that she liked me. Way too much risk when you read it wrong. We'd both had a crush on each other for 8 years. One day we were messaging and started sending random emojis, that then got sexual. She asked if we're still joking, which is when we both realized we weren't and that we should have started dating 8 years ago. So now we are. Said something really stupid and could watch in her eyes how I am falling down really fast in their opinion. That did hurt. Temp who worked with my team. I was a team supervisor/manager in hospitality, who was kind of cute, cyan and magenta dyed hair, and was really into crycore, and of course my first interaction was to give her the piss like the boys would claim. Many nights at work I was flirting with her and I would always tell her I admired her confidence, but had zero interest since I was with my soon-to-be fiancé at the time, and she was weird. Every night she worked with a different team. She would ask if I would be working with her and if I was even on property so we could talk, as told to me by the other team leadership. Turns out she had a massive crush on me, tried to track me down via social media but couldn't find me since at the time I was using a nickname at work since I have a very common name, and I learned all this when seeing her recently at a music shop, called me out for all that, in front of my now wife. She offered to shave her vagina for me. Context: I was at work having a conversation with a couple of female coworkers about their grooming routines. I worked in a mostly female clothes shop at the time. As they were explaining their choice of either bikini lines, runway strips, or Brazilian, they then asked me, as a guy, what I preferred. I said I quite like it neat or shaved, and another female colleague walked in and blurted out, "I'd shave mine for you," turned bright red and then hurried out of the room. I don't think she meant to say it quite as bluntly as she did, bless her. Was in a relationship at the time, so nothing happened between us. When it was clear I was interested in my friend who's now my wife, I found out a mutual friend of ours had a crush on me because she was pissed. Our town used to have a giant bonfire on the beach near the 4th of July, before hooligans got to be too much trobs. The summer between freshman and sophomore year of high school, I went to a sleepover with 2 friends, and we went to this bonfire. At a point, I was separated from them, sitting in the sand watching the flames. A boy from my class with whom I'd done Battle of the Bands in middle school sat down a few feet away, and started kinda playing footsies with me. Our sandy feet, entwined ankles, sent such feels through me. My friends dragged me away after much too short a time, he and I still staring at one another. The worst one was a guy who wouldn't take no for an answer. As far as I knew he was straight, so I sorta assumed it was a joke the first couple times. But he asked me out several more times and I just got more confused. I wasn't really into him, and I kept assuming he was going to make it into a joke with his straight brothers about how he got me to say yes. Then he got pissed off, saying he was going out on a limb by asking out a slur redacted, and I should be grateful he would even consider me like that. Dude had some internal issues to sort, I think. Dodged a bullet there.